Sports Professor Rick Horrow, Beyond the Scoreboard, the show that gets inside and behind the trillion-dollar business of sports. Khalil Mack, Aaron Donald, how about that? And how about La Liga? How about Major League Baseball and the pennant races? How about NFL kicking off? College football already kicked off. We have a lot to talk about. And if you want to see all of the items, the 15 to watch, 5 philanthropic and 5 technical, NBCWashington.com, at Rick Horrow, HorrowSports.com, a whole bunch of places for you to take a look at all of these issues in one place. And we'll continue to do that over time as it gets heated up on a daily basis. Also, if you want to subscribe to us, Apple Podcast, look for us on Stitcher, Google Play, Audio Boom, iTunes, and all of those other places where this kind of stuff is. And if you really want to get to know the inside stories of basketball, football, everything, you have come to the right place. Very interesting interview today. It's a basketball interview, but it's also an interview that coincides with the opening of the new Fiserv Arena in downtown Milwaukee. It is a huge development for the Bucks. It's a huge development for the Greek Freak. Peter Fagan, the guy that runs the Bucks, and instrumental in that building. And it couldn't have come at a better time because all of us are looking at new stadium issues, from the Redskins Stadium to the DC United opening and on and on and on. But before we get to that, the NFL kicking off. They staged 4 international games this season after this week's kickoff. 3 are at Wembley, and they start October 14. First one, the Seahawks and the Raiders. The second one a week later, the Titans and the Chargers. The third one a week later, the defending champion Eagles against the Jaguars. The Chiefs against the Rams, November 19 at Stadium Azteca in Mexico City. And if that's not enough, you have other games as well. International push.
We're going to take a short break, but when we return, more Rick Horrow, the sports professor. Welcome back to Beyond the Scoreboard with Rick Horrow. We pick up right where we left off.
Development, critical strategy for a league facing declining numbers at home in both stadiums and on TV, but they're looking at doing other stuff. For example, NFL teams now allowed to sell sponsorships directly to casinos that operate sports books. Committee of NFL owners met and agreed to relax the league's rules regarding partnerships with casinos ahead of the new season. As part of the new rules, casinos not allowed to promote the sports books directly, but teams will be able to accept advertising for casinos and daily fantasy sites that operate sports books in shoulder programming and during preseason game telecasts. Teams will be able to profit from direct partnership, though they won't be able to accept any revenue coming from businesses they drive to casinos and gambling websites. Teams are now allowed to sell stadium naming rights to casinos, a move that believed to benefit the Raiders upon their deal in Vegas. All of these changes mark some of the NFL's first steps in navigating an environment where sports betting is legal across the country. Conversely, the new NFL season begins the first true test of revenue viability for the states that have legalized sports betting to date. We can't wait for the kickoff for a lot of reasons. Nor can Packers quarterback Aaron Rodgers. He signed a deal to become the highest paid player in NFL history, but wait, there's more. 34 years old, the Packers head into the new season confident of their foreseeable future, assuming number 12 stays healthy. The 4-year, $134 million deal comes on top of Rodgers' current deal, 5-year, $110 million extension he signed back in 2013. He has 2 more years left on that one. The agreement ends months of negotiations between Packers executive VP and director of football operations Russ Ball and Packers agent athletes first CEO president David Dunn. Reports of the final numbers indicate the Packers were able to stand firm on their refusal to do anything but a standard contract. And while Rodgers' numbers are higher, mega contract extensions for Odell Beckham, 18 years, $65 million guaranteed. Aaron Donald, 22.5, 87 guaranteed. Khalil Mack, 23.5, $90 million guaranteed. speak volumes about the health of the league. Yeah, it's healthy. They're giving away money. That's only because they make it. The Cleveland Browns could potentially build a roof to enclose First Energy Stadium instead of electing to build a new stadium from scratch. Crane's Cleveland business says the Browns head into their 20th season at the stadium with the facility's most recent renovation, $125 million venture, of which $95 million financed by the team, occurring way back in 2015. New stadium would cost well over $1 billion, and while building a roof to enclose the stadium would cost hundreds of millions, it wouldn't cost 10 figures. The construction of a roof would surely present several foreseen and many unforeseen obstacles that go beyond financing. But staying in the same location would give the team another chance to see the area around the stadium developed, and fans provided easier access to a facility that was ill-conceived from the beginning, some say. And fresh off signing Heisman winner Baker Mayfield and a well-received turn on HBO's Hard Knocks, the Browns now need a house worthy of bringing down when their play on the field dictates such a move. See what happens. It is a brand new day in Cleveland for a lot of reasons. Hyundai secured sponsorship for NBC's Sunday Night Football kickoff show. The NFL's official automotive partner enters its 2018 season looking to assume a larger role on game day. The original 2015 deal between Hyundai and the NFL offered little direct advertising exposure during NFL games on Fox, CBS, and NBC, leaving the door open for deeper-pocketed brands to own game day telecasts. Hyundai Motor CMO Dean Evans said, "You can buy the sponsorship and then you don't have enough money to run enough TV commercials. You almost don't look like a sponsor." Hyundai will also sponsor a 3-part digital series called Cover 2 that will give fans a closer look at some league rivalries. The series, produced by Huntington Beach ad agency In Ocean, and Hyundai also continues its partnerships with 6 teams for 18. Cardinals, Dolphins, Rams, Steelers, Texans, and Vikings. The details behind the partnership, a terrific example of creative ways that brands look to activate around the NFL, particularly in the digital space. And particularly in the charitable space, the NFL strives and exceeds. J.J. Watt raised about $42 million in Hurricane Harvey relief. He raised the largest crowd-sourced fundraiser in history. The YouCaring.com page originally raised more than $37 million, but the money continued to come in after the deadline, pushing the total to nearly $42. Hands and Hearts, AmeriCares, Boys and Girls, Baker Ripley, Feeding America, Save the Children, SBP. And he said, as I reflect on the events of Hurricane Harvey a year ago, the memories of destruction and devastation remain, but they're accompanied by memories of hope, selflessness, and the beauty of the human spirit. I was fortunate enough to witness that generosity firsthand as the fundraiser that I started with a simple goal of $200,000 turned into an unbelievable outpouring of support from people around the globe. Good for him. The Raiders donate $250,000 to youth sports. The Oakland youth sports eliminated by the Oakland Unified School District due to budget constraints. After-school athletics are an important part of high school experience, and this donation will keep student athletes on the playing fields in Oakland, said owner Mark Davis. The Raiders will allocate the funds through the East Bay Community Foundation. The donation will be coordinated with the Oakland Athletic League, and for decades, the Raiders have been big brothers to our football players and models of all students to emulate. This donation from the Raiders is like a last-second game-winning touchdown, Superintendent Kayla Johnson-Trammell said. $250,000 will go a long way to ensuring that our young people can dedicate themselves on the fields and courts, in the pools, and on the mats this year and beyond. As the Raiders head to Vegas, good to hear they're directly involved in continuing to be philanthropic all over Oakland. A big deal. Continue to do that. On the tech side, Richard Sherman launches a fantasy football platform of his own, sticking with the NFL. The Niners cornerback has become a co-founder and brand ambassador of a new fantasy football program called The Daily Number. The Super Bowl winner and three-time first-team All-Pro says his involvement with The Daily Number is not simply just a product endorsement. He's thought to be one of the first NFL players, if not the first, to have a founding stake in a fantasy game. Although others have previously acted as brand ambassadors, Daily Number initially launching in 23 states and positions himself as an alternative to other daily fantasy games by allowing players to set lineups that try to beat a target score developed by proprietary algorithms. Fantasy football has been growing steadily over the years, and I wanted to get it directly involved with the people. It's become such a huge industry, Sherman told Forbes. It's better connected to fans and players, and I think it helps them know players better, plus the ups and downs we go through on the field, and it helps the biggest fans feel more invested in the game. Obviously, there's an issue that needs to be discussed, and the NFL will deal with it as far as creating a bright line on fantasy involvement and playing. We'll see some of that to come a little later. It was quite clear the NFL is doing a whole host this year. Let's shift just for a couple of minutes to basketball. And it's not any basketball, it's the world champion Golden State Warriors. Warriors president and COO Rick Welts has confirmed that 80% of the team's current season ticket holders already committed to renewing their tickets upon moving across the bay. The Warriors have been bringing season ticket holders over to Chase Center Experience to pitch them on repurchasing seats, and about the season ticket holder base, about half of them already pitched, but 4 out of 5 have chosen to purchase tickets at the new venue. Yet, it's expected to be the highest priced tickets in the NBA. The 18,000-seat billion-dollar arena is paid for primarily by...
We're going to take a short break, but when we return, more Rick Horrow, the sports professor. Welcome back to Beyond the Scoreboard with Rick Horrow. We pick up right where we left off.
By that, the Warriors keeping 5,000 tickets available for game day, good for them. But no doubt aiding many East Bay season ticket holders, the decision to continue their commitment involves the Bay Area's Trans-Bay BART subway line, which makes to and from incredibly convenient. Well, that's one building that will open next year. One building that opened last week, downtown Milwaukee. The Bucks dealing with their hedge fund guys and other folks involved in their group, Mark Lazary and guys like Peter Fagan involved in the franchise, Wes Edens. The bottom line is putting together a great ownership group and got the arena committed after the deal was done, which is unusual and incredibly positive for the city of Milwaukee and all of Wisconsin. The incredible perspective is not just the Bucks, but for all kinds of concerts and a downtown development orientation that they are incredibly bullish about. Peter Fagan has been involved in the sports industry for a number of years in a number of different contexts. Let him tell the story on the eve of the opening of the new arena in Milwaukee. Peter Fagan.
Inside the boardroom beyond the scoreboard, we often talk to development guys who know the industry, guys who move mountains to get a real estate deal done, and we have all of that in one today. Peter Fagan, the president of the Milwaukee Bucks. Peter, how are you?
Great. This is a big day for our organization. As you know, we just announced our naming rights partner for our new arena. We've got great development in and around our live block in our district, and getting very excited for a new NBA season. But this is a fun point of momentum for us.
Well, it continues the momentum that you got. I've talked off air about how I admire, not only you but Mark Lazary and Wes Edens and Jamie Dinan and Mike for putting together a deal when you bought the franchise. The arena deal was something that people wanted, but it wasn't finished, and obviously the leverage has to be very carefully done. And you guys have now a centerpiece of a 30-acre development that'll help redefine and revitalize Milwaukee, becoming the jewel in the Midwest. You also got your naming deal, so let's hear about it.
Well, I think I think first of all, Fiserv, which is a Wisconsin-based company with a global footprint that is a publicly traded NASDAQ company and really a global leader of financial services technology solutions in the world, and the Bucks and the Arena have decided to partner for, again, like a unique element of this deal, 25-year term. To really forge a relationship, of two organizations based on innovation, based on people, and based on real growth. I think what's interesting in the industry is kind of forging a new category. As we looked at it, this was a long time in the making. We've probably been talking for about 2 years. This is about alignment of objectives and really the prospect of having a really fun, prosperous relationship together over a very long time.
Well, so obviously it was a deal that, as you said, took a long time in the making. They'll speak for themselves, and obviously through all of our contacts, we'll have those guys on a lot in the next few years. Tell me why they're interested in how you defined your assets. It's not just the new arena and the connectivity. It's Milwaukee. It's the NBA. Which piece was more important, or was it all equally as important?
Well, I think it's all equally important. I think when you ask Fiserv and Jeff Abuki, their CEO, what it was how to align with the brightest in technology, a true customer experience. I think localism meant something. It means something to them in a very big way. The fact that this is, that we're both aligned and headquartered in Wisconsin was a big part of the deal as well. But to really think about aligned, like-minded companies going together to really build our brands together and build our business.
And the arena, obviously, incredibly important. The 258 miles of fiber and copper cable, the 200 events a year in it, the Marquette's men's basketball team, major concerts, and the like. That all has to be a driving force in a naming deal, but it also is much more than that. It's representing stability, and it represents the future.
Yeah, I think you take it from our ownership, and I think Jeff spent a lot of time with our owners to really talk about what the vision was, and the vision is simply to be a leader, and that means a lot of things on a lot of levels. On the court, it means competing for a championship. Off the court, it means attracting millions of fans via attendance, via activation, via engagement, and really having a strategy to redefine the experience, here in Wisconsin. I think the easy part of naming rights is, today in the NBA, quantifying impressions, is not easy, but you can do it, and it exists, and the growing market that we have in hockey stick growth in television audience in Asia and in Europe, and participation, of generations, it's just been phenomenal, unlike any other league. So I think all of this contributed to kind of Fiserv really understanding the value proposition.
So Fiserv, again, this is maybe stated another way, but obviously they buy into the arena. They buy into the future of the Bucks. But the international growth of the NBA, how is a naming rights partner for one of now 30 partners in a arena that is in a great growth area, but it's not New York, Chicago, L.A.? How does it see benefits around the NBA and its international expansion, too? You refer to it generally. Get a little more specific as to how they take advantage of the NBA assets.
Well, I'll simply, I like it to relate to it in a simple form. You are the company you keep. So literally Fiserv has now aligned themselves with, what really is the greatest league and growing international presence in the world. So, when you align yourself, you are aligning yourself, as certainly on the home court, team, but on every broadcast that exists, on where you're going. And again, it's not just the NBA. One of our platforms is, a real destination on entertainment, and 40 to 50, concerts a year that kind of redefine entertainment for it. So you are aligning yourselves with kind of like the centerpiece of sports entertainment, and with the NBA, of course, you've got an accelerant because you get the backing of the league and the media machine.
How do you feel about the league broadly? I know it's a general question, so it's obviously positive, but the whole notion of the current media rights deals and the international expansion, the good side of the NBA, you bullish on the NBA?
You're talking to the wrong guy. Yeah, I mean, you're talking to the biggest cheerleader of Adam Silver you could ever imagine. I think directionally what's happened in the last 2 to 3 years, I think if you talk about anything from valuation of teams to kind of what growth prospects are, when you talk about the intricacies of kind of what's happening with e-gaming and what's happening with NBA 2K, I was just looking at numbers, and we had over 25,000 people, watch our NBA 2K team play, to get it. By the way, that competes with a lot of regional networks broadcast of games, in large and small markets around the NBA. So I think, it's almost on the operator side, which I consider ourselves, and the franchise side, to really figure out ways to capture, what's happening, and the affinity and the participation and the growth. And it's only increasing. So, we spend every day in really figuring out how do we acquire the fan, how do we engage them, and how do we retain them, and it's all about the content, and NBA basketball is terrific.
We had Zach Leonsis on my debut show on NBC in Washington, and Adam Silver can run for class president or homecoming king. It's the same argument from another cheerleader. And when I asked Zach the biggest growth unexpectedly, I guess you can elaborate on it as well. Who'd have thought that e-sport and gaming would actually be a legitimate athletic sport when Adam Silver says these are athletes and you draft them? When he said that, were you kind of questioning it all, or did you believe that it was just your time to take advantage of that, just like everybody else in the NBA?
No, I think, you get that chronological, so I'm closer to 50 than I am to 40, and I think that puts you in a place where it's hard to believe because you haven't experienced it. I've got a teenage son who, is addicted to Fortnite and learned more about NBA basketball through NBA 2K and the prospects and the playing than I know, and I spend a lot of time. It's my livelihood, so to get it. So there's a rationalization. I think, really, like when you look at the real numbers, which really just slaps you in the face, and you look at what's happening in spectator events, in socialization, in e-gaming lounges, where people are, you're now creating the new arcades, where people are learning best practices and watching the best people play and creating a social experience. It's so phenomenal, and what just legitimizes it and puts it in cement is Rick, the numbers are incredible. Tens of millions of people watching like international, finals, trumping Super Bowl numbers. Those are real things, to get it done. And the participation is so viral and so real.
We're going to take a short break, but when we return, more Rick Horrow, the sports professor. Welcome back to Beyond the Scoreboard with Rick Horrow, the sports professor. We're going to rewind our featured interview, reset the show a little bit, and pick up from there. Here's Rick Horrow.
Perfect. We had Zach Leonsis on my debut show on NBC in Washington, and Adam Silver can run for class president or homecoming king. It's the same argument from another cheerleader. And when I asked Zach the biggest growth unexpectedly, I guess you can elaborate on it as well. Who'd have thought that e-sport and gaming would actually be a legitimate athletic sport when Adam Silver says these are athletes and you draft them? When he said that, were you kind of questioning it all, or did you believe that it was just your time to take advantage of that, just like everybody else in the NBA?
No, I think, you get that chronological, so I'm closer to 50 than I am to 40, and I think that puts you in a place where it's hard to believe because you haven't experienced it. I've got a teenage son who, is addicted to Fortnite and learned more about NBA basketball through NBA 2K and the prospects and the playing than I know, and I spend a lot of time. It's my livelihood, so to get it. So there's a rationalization. I think, really, like when you look at the real numbers, which really just slaps you in the face, and you look at what's happening in spectator events, in socialization, in e-gaming lounges, where people are, you're now creating the new arcades, where people are learning best practices and watching the best people play and creating a social experience. It's so phenomenal, and what just legitimizes it and puts it in cement is Rick, the numbers are incredible. Tens of millions of people watching like international, finals, trumping Super Bowl numbers. Those are real things, to get it done. And the participation is so viral and so real. We just have been a little bit late to the game, and now we're grabbing it. And I really do see kind of the valuations and our NBA 2K teams, like at some point, and you call me crazy, they will equate to kind of what team evaluations are.
I wouldn't think Mark Cuban is crazy, although it might be for other reasons. When he says that, nor do I think you're crazy. So how about gambling? Let's talk about that for a minute. We're talking about valuation increases, and this was one of those things where as much as the brain trust in various sports tried to resist, once the Supreme Court ruled the way they did, it's how do we take advantage of it? What is your case on that?
Well, our case is pretty good. I mean, I will tell you, and almost from, Adam Silver's mouth, there are billions of dollars of sports gambling going on, and it's our, it's the league's IP, so in some shape or form, how can we help improve it, evolve it, and on a parallel path, like reap financial rewards from it. So I think it makes great sense. I think directionally it's terrific. I'm a little curious, even though I'm in it, is how does it actually evolve? How do we work? How does the mechanism work? How do we work with brick and mortar casinos to virtual casinos? How does it work on a state-by-state basis? All those things are going to be really fascinating. But 30,000 feet, I think directionally I couldn't be more excited.
So let's talk market for a minute. You're not satisfied with being Wisconsin's team. Now you want to be the northern suburbs of Chicago's team. Explain.
No, I think we want to be the world's team, and of course, if you're gonna conquer the world, you should go through northern Illinois and southeastern Wisconsin, obviously, to do it. I think for us, we want to be that destination. So when you talk about destination marketing and really looking at it and population bases, for us, Northern Illinois is that perfect marketplace to get it. So if we put a platform down of world-class entertainment and sports, it's a natural return to really target, those big population bases. And I think if you look at it geographically, specifically, as you look at the southern part of Wisconsin and the northern part of Illinois, you're talking about equidistant time from to get to the downtown arena in Chicago as it takes to get to Milwaukee. You're talking about, we obviously want to differentiate ourselves with an awesome experience and get it. And the key for us is going to be content and what the experience is like. So, we are aggressively going after, every prospective market that we think would have a great return.
What is the Greek freak like to deal with, to be with?
He's simply the best. My favorite story to tell about him is probably I think it was probably a summer ago. And this is a very smart, great young man who happens to be one of the best ball players in the league. But you probably remember the reports and what happens to every player once they sign their extension. Oh my God, you better surround him with deep talent. The clock is ticking. To do it. So I think the headlines really went off on the clock is ticking. To get it in. So Giannis and I kind of caught each other's eyes across the parking lot at the training facility, and he raised his 2-foot long index finger, and waved it back and forth and said tick 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 tick. The clock is ticking. And I'm like, just left, but in just a fun, great way, and that just really explains, what this guy is about. This guy. Everything, if you watch 60 Minutes, this is a true life commercial about him. He cares about his family, and he cares about his team, and he cares about getting great at basketball and winning.
Good. I mean, good for you also, obviously, to take advantage of it and make it a face of Milwaukee and the NBA as well. Not difficult to do with the guy that is all in, is it?
No, I mean, he is, and I always laugh because, some people take credit for, think they knew what Giannis would become, and I only think he's about halfway there, and the truth is, 2 years ago, if you would have told us Giannis who he is today, I might have told you you're a little bit nuts, lower your expectations. So Giannis has been this, surreal accelerant on interest and fandom and engagement, for this team, like we've never seen before. So absolutely, how do we take advantage of it? How do we build on it? And how do we leverage it?
So I guess finally for you, you become, from a New Yorker, obviously, you're a celebrity and hero, I would say, not you, in southern Wisconsin. It's an amazing transformation. And if you'd have said a few years ago, when you were running Marquis Jet, that you would be the driving force behind, along with others, a new arena and the Greek Freak and a revitalization of Milwaukee from a basketball perspective, what would you have thought?
Never in a million years. So I just kind of laugh and I have a close relationship with our ownership, with Wes Edens and Mark Lasry and Jamie Dinan and Mike Fascitelli, and I will just tell you, these guys have given me an opportunity and kind of mentored me and guided me in a way and in a scenario that I could never even fathom, given the ability to really build an unbelievable team, around to really recognize a vision. The truth is, there's no way 4 years ago we had the vision of what's actually happened. We're honest about that. But to have the wherefore-all and to have the ownership that has full support, that obviously are visionaries in themselves and actually so bright. I tell people the only way this happens is imagine that you've got 4 guys who are the greatest board members in the history of the world that are at your beck and call day in and day out, who, by the way, love this business. They all run dozens of other businesses, and I guarantee you, just because I am a big part of their professional team they own, I have more access to them than their other CEOs. No question in my mind. Just an unbelievable alignment of the planets, unbelievable opportunity. I tell everybody here all the time, and of course, the younger you are, the less you believe it, but what's happening here just doesn't happen. This is this in a professional sports team. We have a 50-year-old franchise that we've really treated as a startup. We've developed a 30-acre district. We've done a new media deal. We have completely re-engineered the team and the coaching and built an arena all in a short period of time that some teams never go through, one of those elements, and we've had the opportunity to do it all. So it's very exciting.
The real problem with Peter Fagan, as we know, is that he's not passionate about what he's doing. The key to him right now is not just working with those 4 owners and taking it to the next level, but world domination. Rick Horrow, sports professor. See you in a few minutes. Thanks a lot.
Well, Peter Fagan has some tremendous experience, and also look for that arena to propel the Bucks into a major development opportunity, and certainly with the Greek Freak, probably a tremendous on-court opportunity as well. Let's go to baseball for a couple of minutes, the good and the not so good. The Cubs looking to capitalize on their popularity and recent success with their plan to start their own TV venture next year. The Cubs are planning to pull away from their current partnership and take a look at some other opportunities. The ownership model work with the Yankees, Comcast Sportsnet Chicago involved. Obviously, that's a parent company that we're close to. See how it all works out. It's been done in other places. The Cubs enjoying tremendous success and will continue to do so no matter what. On the other hand, Derek Jeter's first season in Miami not been the easiest one. The Marlins have struggled to produce on the field, currently sitting at the bottom of the NL East. The club struggled to get even more fans at Marlins Park. In an effort to reach out to local fans and capitalize on the city's international population, the Marlins create a section in the right field stands they call Comunidad 305. Translate to Community 305 in Spanish. Fans in the section can purchase a season ticket for $8 and allowed to bring everything from flags to musical instruments to the games. And they can buy those tickets knowing they'll be part of a community of people that can hang out and be a little different. Bring bells, whistles, flags, whatever to create a really cool vibe, says Chip Bowers, the president of baseball operations for the Marlins. And overall, the initiative meant to bring fans from various cultures together to create a World Baseball Classic type feel for home games. I got another suggestion. How about winning? Well, we talked about the U.S. Open in tennis last week. Let's talk about golf and their FedEx playoff. We got 2 more rounds to go. And the golf industry, driven by We Are Golf, a coalition of leading organizations working together to communicate the game's economic, charitable, environmental, and fitness benefits, launches its #InviteHer campaign. Powered by the LPGA and We Are Golf Women's Task Force, golfers, men and women alike, encouraged to bring friends, colleagues, and family to join them on the course. The appetite for golf at a historic level, with a latent demand for 38 million Americans, said Steve Mona, the World Golf Foundation CEO. And last year, 35% of the game's 2.6 million new players were female, and we're confident the #InviteHer is a huge step in the right direction to continue increasing this number. The primary objective is to grow awareness and participation among women and girls through the power of an invitation from one of the 24 million American golfers who already play. The game should more closely mirror U.S. demographics, as only 24% of the current golf population female. And while grassroots efforts are critical, women's golf at present.
We're going to take a short break, but when we return, more Rick Horrow, the sports professor. Welcome back to Beyond the Scoreboard with Rick Horrow. We pick up right where we left off.
Lacks a Tiger Woods caliber star who will fuel young women's interest in the game. Tiger's done a great job, and now it's time for people to take another look and do some other things. Well, let's look at some international events as we close this out. Stan Kroenke on the verge of taking full control of the Premier League heavyweight Arsenal. Supporters Trust members refuse to sell their shares. According to the London Evening Standard, Kroenke owns about 98.8% of Arsenal after striking a deal to buy Alisher Usmanov's 30% stake in the club for $716 million in August. The Supports Trust members will not pursue legal action over the takeover due to potentially exorbitant costs that could be incurred from doing so, though the fan group was seeking to take action over Kroenke's compulsory purchase of the club. The AST gesture, it was more symbolic. It'll not naturally prevent the sale from going through, but Kroenke long since been criticized as a sports franchise owner who cares more about the bottom line than winning cups and titles, something traditionally strong Arsenal has been lacking over the last few years with his Rams stadium, with his stuff in Denver. Now Arsenal look for some really positive synergies in the years ahead. Let's talk about La Liga. They're expanding their plans to play regular season matches overseas. We talked about that 2 weeks ago. But players openly protesting this. They don't want to be involved, but yet Mexico is a suitable market for another game in the coming years. They're saying Mexico City, Monterrey, Tijuana, a couple of options. In fact, Monterrey and Tijuana may be even better. Tijuana, closer benefit of drawing thousands of spectators from across the border in Southern California. The bottom line is they are certainly looking at developing a relationship back the other way across the pond. Serie A, the other big league in addition to the Premier League, they've made a push toward financial equality after years of trailing far behind Europe's other big leagues. The Italian Football Federation recently approved an all-Serie A commitment to sign a sleeve sponsor for match jerseys. The move now brings the Italian top flight of soccer on par with Bundesliga, League One,